It's the very first ever event for us to come together with our customers, with you. It's a dream coming true for Eran. How do you feel?
I'm very excited, as you can tell. Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Where are we in 2 years?
Yeah, well, my dream was that in a few years from now, we're going to have a huge conference. And Roy asked me how huge. So I said, when you go to booking.com to book a hotel, it's going to be a warning. There's a monday.com conference now in New York. So that's the goal.
Now you know why you're a part of making history. Okay. So in the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to spend some time talking about the past, present, and mainly the future. I know all of you are so excited to be here to hear about our future of monday.com. We'll be sharing some of our roadmap, but let's start with the past. So Eran, you talked about your part. Why don't you take us back to 2013 and tell us why it all started?
Cool. So I think when we started it, we didn't really understand the implications that so many customers would have with Monday, but we really understood what we didn't like about how we manage things, and Eran touched on that. And I think like the reason that we are so successful now with it is actually two parts. Like one, that we really did understand well the type of product we wanted to build. Like we wanted it to be fun, we wanted people to love it, and that meant essentially the initial adoption and the ease of use, and that it'll be fun. And on the other hand, we really wanted it to be the core of every business, that people will actually use it to manage things. And we had a saying that, like, when you come in the morning, this is what you need to get to work. So I think no one until that point really tried to connect both these things. Like you started with either really complex software to manage really complex things, or consumer style software that is fun and everyone loves. So we kind of set out to solve this problem and have that two ideas in mind. And eventually what we ended up doing, I think, is building a really good product for any team, because we solved a very human problem that we understood well, which was software planning, executing, and communicating within different departments in the companies we used to work for, but it essentially solved a very core problem for people. So.
But why this? I mean, the two of you founded companies in the past. Not everyone here knows that, but it's not the first company you actually open up. What made you decide that this is the right problem to solve?
So you're saying, like, my first company was one like an online building platform, and the other one was a game, a computer game, which you needed to save an alien that was going to die. And we can have like 1 million people adopt aliens. So you're like, so I'm guessing this is what you're asking. Like, how did you move from saving aliens to building enterprise software?
That's what I mean, yeah.
Okay. So I think like I think I can speak for both of us that we really love to build products. That was the initial love. So whether it's game or software, we really want to build things that people love. And the most important thing is to connect to a problem that you understand or to something that you want to build. And this was something that was very close to us, because we manage teams, we build companies. So the problem itself was really something we understood and cared deeply about. So that's the reason behind, or the connecting line between saving aliens and enterprise software.
Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I can add to the story is that it wasn't obvious in the beginning, because when we started a company, a lot of people said, listen, there's so many tools in the market to manage tasks, to manage projects. What's going to make you guys unique? And we look at it from a different perspective. We said, look, if you want to manage your sales team, you're probably going to use Salesforce, right? So it's a big brand name. It's obviously going to solve your problems. You know, intuitive, what are you going to use to manage your work? Anything apart from sales. And is there a tool that you consider to be the best tool, the tool that's the most adaptable to your business? And everybody that we talked to said, no, I don't know if there's a tool like that. And we identified a huge gap in the market because at the end of the day, I don't think there's a standard. I don't think there's a tool that's flexible enough and that can grow to manage any type of business. So from that perspective, even though we had other tools in the market, different products, we felt that we can build something big. And I always like to compare us that, and this is the kind of part of our vision, that if, Salesforce is one example, is the go-to tool to manage your sales team, we want Monday to be that tool that you're going to use to manage everything else, include your sales maybe, but every other aspect of your business going forward. And I really think that we have the opportunity to create a household name of a platform that everybody can use in the future.
One last question about the past. Anyone who knows Monday know that you're not only co-founders, but you actually run a company together, and we're in the business of teams here. How did you know to choose one another?
We have a long history of being friends, so we knew how we work together, and it was kind of like a safe bet in that perspective. But I think it's very not intuitive for people that we work so well together, managing the company really together. We have kind of like, we always say we have a very similar background of building software, writing code, so we think in many ways, in much of the same ways, and in many ways in totally different ways, and that we complement each other. So really we run the company together, and I think it inspired a lot of the teams that we have in Monday to do the same, and even if not having like a co-lead kind of way of managing things, like really working with other people and giving ownership to other people and not really trying to be centralized in any way. And
one funny fact is that we actually met each other in our military service. So we both served in the intelligence force, and actually Rory recruited me to the team, and we know each other since I was 18. And we kept in touch throughout the years. And what he mentioned about co-management, I think it's also kind of interesting. We're very, you can call it unique, weird in how we manage the company together, but one interesting observation that I have is how the company also looks like that in a way. So a lot of the teams that we have in the company are being co-managed, or two people are managing. So it's funny whenever we have like a management meeting, they come like pairs to that meeting. So it's always interesting to see how the company is kind of a reflection of the initial management team and how much important it is to kind of think about your values and what do you want to emphasize on in the company.
You started your presentation by talking about our current numbers, and for those who don't know, we raised earlier on this year, we raised a big amount of money that brought us to a valuation of 1.9 billion, as Eran mentioned. And this is just a reflection of the speed and the growth and everything we're doing. How are you keeping up? The company is doubling itself in terms of the number of employees each year.
So that's a really good question, because I feel my job is to make myself redundant all the time. That's like how I measure myself, because it's like every 6 months, it's not the same company. And like, I think in the beginning, even I understood there are like 24 hours a day, and it's I know it's not that like insightful, but it is. When you because you can only work much harder and then you reach your limit. Okay, so I said, okay, so I reach that limit, and then what will happen then? I'll need to understand how I bring other people to help me with stuff. So why should I do it at the limit? Why not do it step back and then like still not be totally exhausted? And I think that's something that we're working hard in the company. It's not just me, it's like everyone this is their job, like understanding how they can understand something, bring someone else, pass them that knowledge, help them grow, and then scale it and see themselves doing something else every 6 months. So unless we do that, like it's not, I don't know, healthy or even possible.
I mean, I need to ask you, how do you use Monday to run Monday? I mean, it's an obvious question to be asked here.
That's obvious. So we're like, we're 360 people at the moment, but like every week we have like 10 more or 15 more, but we're probably a user that uses Monday kind of like 3,000 people, because we have like everything is there on Monday. Even like a funny fact, like we created like clickers, and we know we have several showers in the office, so we have a dashboard that shows which shower is open on Monday through the automations. So we use it for really everything.
Heavy users, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously everything is very transparent, clear. We don't need to ask people. We see it, and we also put everything on screens. If it's important enough for you to kind of live with that information, and we always say, like, if you work in a restaurant, let's say, you see if it's busy, if it's not, if you're lacking in inventory. You live the business because it's physical. But for us, it's not physical. You don't really know. So we created, like, we don't have any walls that have no screens on them. Like, all the walls are covered with dashboards, and we want to consume that information like throughout the day. And that makes a huge difference. Like, what do you put out there that people see all the time?
What do you put out there?
So anything that needs to sync the team. Like, if you have a report somewhere, and even if it's on a software that everyone has access to, but it's not on the wall, then I need to convince you of a problem. When it's on the wall, everyone knows that it's important, and they can talk about it, and they're synced instantaneously. So it's not about like even making data accessible. It's about making people react to that information in a way that makes sense for them. That, like, if we do it now, then that third person, our manager or someone else, would know it's a good thing because they also see that screen. So that's why we have so many dashboards, and a lot of the stuff in Monday are on those dashboards.
Yeah, I think one interesting thing, and we talked a little bit about that, is the fact that the company is very transparent. And it wasn't an intuitive decision when we started a company. I remember one occasion, first of all, we made the decision when we were only 5 people. I remember Ori and I sitting and deciding that we want our company to be transparent. So first of all, we tried to figure out, like, what does that mean? So we decided that every metric, every number, every board presentation is going to be available to everybody in the company. No rules, no permissions. And I remember one occasion where we told that to everyone in the company. A few months goes by, and one of the people in the company took a photo of one of our dashboards, shows all the revenue numbers, and posted it into Facebook. For some reason, he was friends with one of our early investors, and I got a call from our investor saying, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? All your numbers are out there. People are going to see your numbers, your metrics. Aren't you afraid? And I remember Roy and I talking and saying, if we're better than them, they're going to be scared to death. And if not, we got a problem, and it's not the dashboard. So I think, sharing information is very powerful. Everybody can do it in their own way. We decide about our way. But I feel the more you share, the more empowered everybody feels in the organization, the more they can make decisions and make an impact. And it's something that also exists in our product. We don't force people to be transparent, but as I've mentioned, a lot of the defaults are geared towards that. And it's something we try to promote with Workspaces.
Another part of the speed that we grow is feature release. It's a very huge thing. Maybe just start generally talking about how it works. What's the process? How many features do we release? I mean, I have the answer because I asked Talia, but
yeah. So I feel execution and speed of innovation is very critical. I think one of the things that are most mind-blowing is when a customer asks for a feature or finds a problem with a product, and not only does it get a reply, we also fix, if there's a bug, we fix it. If it's a feature, we consider adding it. And I think that's what makes companies successful, the fact that you can move fast, you can execute.
Wait, but what do you mean? Like a customer asks for a feature and you just edit?
No, so obviously we try to understand what the problem was for that customer, because a lot of times customers suggest features, so we try to understand, like, what's the underlying problem, think what's the best way to solve it. But we do address it. Like we don't, it's going to happen in Q2 2020. We try to figure out what we can do tomorrow in order to make an impact. Because I feel at the end of the day, it's a mental game, right? Everything seems complex at first. Everything seems like a big issue. But if you kind of encourage the company to execute fast, if you encourage them to make mistakes, if you tell them, try to simplify, try to kind of, think what's the value you want to do with that feature and put focus on that and see what's the minimal effort we can do in order to reach that value. I think it made a huge change in our company, and everybody now thinks in this way of, let's try to find the value, let's execute super fast. And I think at the end of the day, this is what will make our company successful.
And if you look on the other perspective of our roadmap and how we kind of like see our feature development into the future, so it's kind of like the same qualities that we talked about today. Is we have teams that are driven by KPIs, like we work together to understand what is a good outcome of a certain
KPIs are metrics.
area. Yeah. What is a good outcome for a certain area of work, let's say the communication area or the boards or, I don't know, reporting, those kind of stuff. And then they go and they make all the decisions. They decide which features, they decide how it's going to look, they decide everything and measure that. So that's like a big part of ownership. And to tie it to the last question you asked, that was, I think, a challenge for us in the beginning to let go of the product. And like it started with like writing code where, in the beginning we used to write code. Then they didn't let me write code anymore. And then they made a party when my last line of code was out of the software. But so that's good things. And Eran's last line of code has not been out yet, but it's going to happen.
Progress, yeah.
It's going to happen. And then we had to let go of also product and the features and like really. So we have our input, but it's like as other members of the team, we need to convince other people in what we believe in a certain area, and we have to, because otherwise they would not have ownership over that. They would do something that I tell them to do, and then they'll be tackled with a problem, and then what do they need to ask? What would we do? It's like it doesn't make sense. They need to have full ownership of something. And we, I think, worked hard to understand that, like, and it's a process for us, I think, was to kind of like, how do we do that? So they feel confident, and even new employees that came, like, I don't know, a few months ago can tell us, okay, got your idea, it's nice, but we're going to do this, and like, hear me out and do something else completely, and I think that's powerful. And that we were able to achieve that with how we build stuff, and that everyone can make their own decisions, and it's not up to a certain person.
So this is part of the reason we can release features very quickly. What else do we do?
And good ones.
Good features. Yeah. What else do we do, infrastructure-wise?
What do you mean? Like
speed? Yeah. So that's a good example. Recently, like we had what we felt was a speed issue, because we added the automations, and suddenly people added like and integrations like thousands of rows into boards that were not really supportive of that. So even the scroll started to be really slow. Okay, so that was a huge undertaking to rewrite that, I think, like 3 times until we solved the problem. But we understood like this is something we have to do building into the future, where we have like, I don't know, millions of rows or those kind of stuff. So I think for every one of those problems, we need to understand what is the problem, and then we try many different things in order to solve it. So it might be something new or a problem, or I don't know, like that kind of challenge that was very clear because people were suffering from speed.
I think something that we realized really early on in the life of the company is that the product is business critical to a lot of businesses. So not only that it needs to be up and running all the time, 100%, but also like we mentioned, the speed, the features that we have inside. It's mission critical to us, and it's mission critical to all of our customers. And I remember maybe 4 years ago that one of our servers went down for like 10 minutes, and the amount of phone calls, tweets, Facebook posts that I personally got was overwhelming because you get, people depend on that. People come in the morning, they need the software to operate. And that's a big liability that we have, and we take it very seriously.
You talked a lot about how we are a platform, right?
Yeah.
And how the complexity or maybe the abilities of the platform are growing as we go. How do we make sure it doesn't get too complex to onboard new people?
Yeah, it's a good question because one of the core values that we have is we want the product to be intuitive. I know how it feels like to start using a new product. You see a million of icons, so many features, and you feel stupid. You feel you don't know what you need to do. You feel overwhelmed. And our goal with Monday was always to make the product super intuitive, super easy to use. But obviously, as time goes by, we add more and more features. So our philosophy is gradual discover. You can start using the platform just by creating a board. You might not even know you got the automations, the views, the integration, and that's fine. We don't want to surface that in the beginning. As long as you get value along the way, it's great. One of the things that we started to do is to have templates. We realized that having a platform is very powerful, but it has a downside because a lot of people don't know what they can do with the platform, what are the different business use cases they can do. They need to figure out the structure and the system that works for them. So we try to open their minds of what they can do with the platform. And this is something we want to expand into the future to have more and more use cases. Maybe have a lot of companies presenting what they do with Monday and have some sort of a platform that people can share what they do with the tool.
Yeah, and it's also, so that's like the massive stuff that you grow after you start using, but it's not known how much effort we put into the first 5 minutes of a person after they sign up. Like we look at seconds after sign up and try and make it as best as possible because that's one of the key values I think we have is onboarding, and not only the first customer user, like the second one, third one, and it really helps companies adopt new tools. Like if you think about it, the biggest friction there is with adopting Monday is just like adopting any new tool. It's changing the behavior of the team. It has nothing to do with software. So we, from our end, put so much emphasis on making that flawless, also on desktop and on mobile, and that's huge value because you get your team adopting it, and it's it removed your work and that friction of what you need to do, and it's not clear how much effort and measurement and work goes into that, which also solves that feeling Eran said in the beginning of being overwhelmed. So we're trying all the time to find new ways to do it.
Let's move into the future. So first, how do you feel about the future?
Very positive.
Positive?
Yeah. We have a lot of things coming up. First of all, we promise to keep that level of innovation and adding more features. I think in the past year, the product has come a long way, and we plan to keep that momentum going forward. Basically, we're going to open up the platform even more, making people integrate more tools, making them be able to connect almost any application to Monday, and making the product also more scalable for the enterprise. We have bigger and bigger accounts using the platform. I think our biggest deployment is about 8,000 people using on one account. But we have plans to grow that even further, and those accounts want to scale even further. So we're also going to invest a lot into that. And
can actually show the Workspaces
yeah,
now, right?
so we have a bunch of videos that we can share. Yeah.
So tell a bit about the first what.
Yeah, I wanted to add just that in the way that we built when we open up the tool is that we always try and empower, like what we used to be able to do, we want our customers to be able to do. So one example is in the automations and integrations, we have those sentences, and then people would ask us to add another sentence when they wanted to do something completely new. So now we're...
What do you just explain what the sentences are?
So when a status is done, then send an SMS, as an example. So if you want, when a status is done, send an SMS, or if that doesn't get a reply in 3 seconds or 3 minutes, send a phone call, like create a phone call, then we would have to build that. So now we're releasing a feature that will let anyone write their own sentences. So as an example that like you can build all those automations and integrations. So that's one part of it. And the story Eran mentioned is the kind of like the ultimate layer of allowing everyone to build the views, columns, like anything on the platform, like everyone else.
Wait, we're going to show them.
Yeah. So what's the
Just a little bit
first
of process, yeah. Just before you show the video, just to share with you that those videos are made internally for our team. We usually share them just with our board of directors, and you're going to be the first customers to ever watch them. Can't promise it's going to look like this exactly once we release it, but this is just a compass, I would say. So the way we're going to do it is show you 3 videos now. We'll show one and then discuss it and then move to the next. You can explain what it's about. So our little Alexa joke. Let's start with Workspaces, actually.
Yeah.
Eran, you started touching on the pain behind that. Can you elaborate a bit more on what made us?
Yeah, I think maybe some of you feel it, but as you scale your account, you add more and more boards. I think in our account, we have over 1,000 boards that we use. And then I think that's out of control, essentially. So first of all, we'd be able to gather a lot of boards on their workspace and invite relevant people to that workspace. You can have permissions. But more than that, you'd be able to favorite your favorite boards with quick access to them. Also, in the future, we're going to enable you to share workspaces between different accounts, so you can scale even further. One corporate company might have different accounts, sharing workspaces between accounts. The goal is for huge companies with a lot of boards to scale their operation without getting lost under a lot of boards. So that's kind of the concept.
Do you want to add? No?
I think I heard it really well.
When are we going to see it live?
Well, now, soon. Yeah, we're working on it. It's gonna, I mean, we don't plan for more than a quarter, so it's coming out pretty soon, a few months.
2 months?
Yeah, 2 months.
When you say soon,
Well,
you mean 2 months?
Well, you should ask yourself. You should answer yourself then. Lior makes all the decisions, so.
I don't make those decisions. Let's play the resource allocation one, please. a well-requested one. That's why you're so happy, I guess. Some context, Ray?
Yeah, so regardless of the feature itself, like the way we did this feature is, and those are vision videos, we call them. Like we take a concept and then try and visualize it for everyone to be on the same page. And then we tweak those things and work on them. So before we started working on this, we felt that it might take like a few months for us to really nail this down. But then we did this video, and the team, it became really clear enough that they created like a small hackathon. It's like a sprint for 3 days, where they created this feature in 3 days instead of like those few months. So it's not out yet. They're out yet, and they're kind of like finalizing it. But it was an amazing thing to see that we kind of did this so quickly, I would say.
Yeah, and the cool thing is because the platform is so flexible, so you saw that you can manage the resources of people. So obviously that's a main use case, but just thinking about the gentleman here from HOLT, you can potentially pivot that around vehicles or anything else. So just see the resource planning and the allocation of anything you want basically in your company. I think that's going to be super powerful.
Mm-hmm. And to touch on your point, like we're also looking a lot into packaging. Like how would you, like there's a lot of, let's say, features or abilities that are being added. So together with the workspaces, we want to create an ability to create a wrapping that, again, like we would use it to kind of cater to new verticals that might use it. Maybe we have some hotels that run on Monday, so we'll have like, okay, how do we manage an hotel on Monday? Start from here. But organizations will also use this to create internal packaging that they can say, okay, this is the use case that we see for a team that does X, and then other teams will just replicate it and it will be connected automatically to other areas and reporting and all that stuff. So the people implementing Monday will actually be able to, again, like create their own tool internally and also its implementation and rollout, which I think is important, and you'll see that like as a connecting light through all the stuff that we release.
Before we watch our third video, maybe give some context on why we're taking the company there. We know what we're talking about, but tell them what it is. And
so the last video we'll show is, we call it the app marketplace. We might replace the name, but I think this is one of our biggest innovations going forward into 2020. Basically, the platform is super powerful, but we wanted our customers and external developers to be able to extend it even more. The concept behind it is that everybody with the ability to write code will be able to add new views, new integrations, new automations. So you would think about it that each one of you might have a software in their organization which is very customized to their organization. It's not public even, and you want to connect it to Monday. So now you'll be able to do that. You can use internal tools that you've used. Third-party companies will be able to write their own integrations into Monday, and I think this will really help us scale everything in the platform. So we're very excited for that.
why is it important?
It's important because it will help us move faster, and to the company to scale faster, and to the product to scale faster, and just offer people to create their own stuff. So
no, that's why it's important for you, but why is it good for our customers?
if you know the answer, you can just say it.
No, really. What's the vision behind it? Why do you want them to connect everything?
Personalization is key. And again, it's like giving the power back, and like not relying on us. And I think like the areas that we would not reach, even in the integrations area, is like, let's say, internal software that the company developed themselves, or legacy localized software that like few use or like customized in a way that no one else really needs. Okay, so we'll never get there, but sometimes it's part of the core. Okay, and we want to connect everything. Really, we want Monday to be able to show in the process, and when you have a board and you see the process of stuff, it's really the best visualization, and we want every piece of information, everyone involved, even customers, even legacy data, everything in a way that you can reach it in a click. And to be able to do that, we will never be able to connect every app on the planet, everything in every way that makes sense for an organization. And so we have to open it up for either the company to do it themselves, or through partners, or through like creating an ecosystem where developers and customers just like hook up and build new stuff. But we will always give like this very solid infrastructure. You'll always have reporting, you'll always have speed, reliability, mobile, and all those things tied together.
But why, and this is a provocative question, but trying to understand the rationale behind really, why not replace those apps? You, co-founders of Monday, why don't you have the wish to and desire to take every other app and eliminate it?
Like in the market instead of connecting.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I think when we started, let's say, the automation and integration, we had like in the beginning, we said we don't want to be the source of records. Meaning that for some companies we obviously are, but we want to open up sources of records of other SaaS tools that and really connect them, and we kind of made the slogan that our export will be as good as our import, unlike other software that try to hoard information. And I think the same goes with the ecosystem itself. We are not trying to replace everyone, we're trying to connect everything. So, like was mentioned here, the form features, and that we have a form feature, but if you need other stuff like that SurveyMonkey might have, so go with that and we'll connect really well with it. And anything else, like I don't think we want to really replace everything, but we want to be the let's say something that sticks everything together and makes communication happen. That's our core. Our business is not to replace software, is to connect teams, and that's what we're going for. I think, obviously it will be also really good for us as a company, because who wouldn't like something that you can trust? That again, trust that we're not trying to replace everything you use. Whatever you try, we'll work with.
Yeah, let's play it. So we have time for 2 questions from the audience. The way we're going to do it is by raise of hands. We have 2 mics. This is your chance to ask whatever you asked us on the form, registration form, when you signed to this event. Don't be shy. Yeah.
In regards to data privacy and have implemented now, and what do you look for in the future with all the current laws that are changing and updating consistently?
Yeah.
So the question was on data privacy and security.
Yeah, it's a great question. So over the past 2 years, we come a long way. We standardized the platform. We're now ISO compliant, SOC 2. We did all the GDPR compliance processes, and we're very sensitive about this. I can tell you that also internal processes we have within the company, we take very seriously. One example, which everybody that joins the company, we explain it to him, is that nobody in the company have access to our customer boards. It's also a problem because we need to ask permission. If we want to learn how people use the platform, we need to get their permission. We need people to voluntarily share their boards. But we see this as a very important part. So whenever there's an issue with one of the boards or a bug, we need to have special permission from our customers in order to access it. So we take it very seriously. We have a lot of tools in-house to keep track of that. And we use the best practices in terms of security and compliance within our platform to keep our data safe. I think the world has changed. I think using cloud software wasn't that obvious a few years ago. And people now are very open to it. Everybody's using Gmails and Salesforce and other tools online. And I think this trend will continue into the future.
Hi. Good morning, my name is Doan, and my company is a partner of monday.com. So I'm just, the question that I had, obviously we've seen some great vision around product features that are coming down the pike. What's the vision around partners and professional services and how that can complement kind of the growth of the platform?
Yeah, so I think this ties really well to the last thing we're releasing, that we see partners as, for many instances, filling gaps that we can't in localized areas, in like unique ways that customers need to build features, but also as a way for partners to build new stuff that they understand. So, a lot of like my hope that eventually we'll have other startups that are built on Monday, that essentially people will find, like, can do services and then figure out, here is a problem that connects a lot of areas and offer it back to the community and create a product on top of Monday. So we really see ourselves as an open platform that you can build whatever you think. And again, like our features and also your features, if you might want to look at it like that.
Thank you. We were right on time. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you all. Thank you, Eran. Thank you, Ray.